The assignment started in class under your watchful eye is the one more likely to be, you can finish that, what is it? Done, finished, and home. Exactly. Plus, when you started under your watchful eye, you get to walk around and look over the shoulder and see if they were doing it the way you thought it should be done. There are two kinds of wise people, those who think before they speak, and those who think before they speak and don't. Avoid disciplining when you are angry. We have another one up here that comes later, matches this one. It says you never have to apologize for something you didn't say. The things I've regretted the most are when I have allowed my temper to lead my tongue. So just a caution. If you keep students busy doing the do's, they don't have time to do the don'ts. Think about your early finishers. Always have something for your early finishers, but not too engaging so that kids are rushing through stuff to get to it. I made that mistake one year. From one of the publishing companies, I had crossword puzzle books that were teaching higher level thinking skills, analogies, and syllogisms and things. And they were at different levels, from second grade reading level on up to 8th grade reading level. And believe me, I had all of that in my 7th grade classroom. And different color papers, you know. And if you got finished early, you could go and do one of the puzzles and put it in the back. Well, the puzzles were more fun than some of the assignments I was giving, you see. And so, yeah, so just a caution, but have something so that the students are constantly engaged with something positive and academic. Because if there is nothing for them to do, they will find something to do. And it may not be what you would choose. Number 14, teachers do two things well. Share well and steal well. Now, ideas, of course, only. And I want to use this slide as a springboard to say to you, some of the best teaching ideas I ever got came from my English journal. Folks, when you do something in your classroom and it works well, please don't keep it to yourselves. Put your ideas out there so others can benefit from them. And then go in your English journal and look for ideas you can steal. As I say, I got some of my best ones there. Do you have a colleague on the faculty that the two of you can ping pong lesson plans and ideas and build off of each other? Linda Bain was mine. And I do a unit, I did my animal farm unit, I thought it was fabulous. I passed it to her, she took it, she gave it back to me, she thought of things I hadn't thought of. I took that the next year, I added my stuff. By the time we passed that thing back and forth about 4 years, folks, it was fabulous. Everybody has a first year. The trick is not to repeat it. Anyone out here a first year teacher? Blessings on you. In your first year, getting involved in your professional development group. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Folks, everybody has a first year. Now, those of you who are going to have student teachers, give them the benefit of your expertise, everything that you can to help them along, but also encourage them that everybody has a first year. I said this at a conference once, and one teacher popped up and said, yeah, I had 3 of them before I figured it out. CYA. Cover your anatomy. In other words, document, document, document. If you have a student who is driving you up the proverbial wall, document, document, document. On this date, the student did this. This is what I did. On this date, the student did this, made a call home, did this, did this. Then, after a few more instances, when you go to your administration and you say, I am having some challenges with this student, and the administrator says, what seems to be the problem? You pull out your documentation. On this date, this, and I did this. On this date, this. Standing there and saying, well, he's driving me crazy, is not going to get it. But documentation will get you the help you need. Number 17, KFH. He's your kid from hell. Now, what I want to say about this kid is if you knew what's going on in this kid's life, you would wonder how this child is doing as well as he or she is. If you can find out. One of my KFH children stood up on the first day of school as I was going over basic rules and procedures and that we are going to treat one another with respect. He stands up, looks at me, squares his shoulders and says, I just thought you'd like to know we've run off the last 3 teachers and we're looking for number 4. Now, fortunately, this was later in my teaching career. And I looked at the little fellow and I said, well, son, I said, something you might want to consider. Number 1, I have been teaching school more years than you've been going to school. Number 2, during that time, I have had 1 student whom I could not handle. When he left me, he went directly to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. That's true. I said, now, if you think we have anyone in that situation, I might have a problem, but otherwise, I really don't expect any difficulties. Smile. Do not blink. Smile. Do not blink. He sat down. The story is true, by the way. That child's father was using him as a cover to smuggle drugs. You never know what some of these kids are doing. I will say, for my little first-year teacher back there, one of my Vanderbilt students was concerned because she went into a situation mid-year where students had run off a first-year teacher, and we figured that they would try it again. So we practiced, and when he stood up and said, we ran off the last teacher, we're going to run you off, she looked at him square in the eye and she said, you know, I have been preparing for years to be a teacher. This is my chosen profession. I will be here at the end of this semester. Whether you are here or not will depend upon the choices you make between now and then. Smile, smile, do not blink. She was there, he wasn't. Any Dummkopf can figure out how to end a school year, but it takes a knowledgeable person to start it. I'm so pleased that Peabody has now, at least when I left, we're still doing the early start that requires student teachers to be in a school at the beginning of the year to see how the school year begins. How many of you began teaching and you never got to see the beginning of the school year? Had to make it up as you went along, didn't you? Now you know what's involved. And I encourage you to share that with student teachers who come your way. I do have a book on that, Getting Off to a Good Start, what you do in the first 3 days of school. Lots of studies, 15 studies, about 8,000 hours of looking in classrooms. The teachers who had higher academic achievement at the end of the year, better behavior when we went back and looked every 6 weeks throughout the year, they had some specific things in common. Learn what these are. Our next one, telling is not teaching. Say it with me, please. Telling is not teaching. Again, telling is not teaching. With some feeling. Telling is not teaching. I told them 1,000 times that. Folks, just to say that when you're trying to teach your students procedures, have them practice. Let them rehearse. Can you imagine a coach who calls the team in and says, okay guys, we're going to play ball. We're going to play for the honor and glory of our school. This is a basketball. That is a hoop. Your goal is to get the ball through the hoop. Let me show you how to dribble. Let me show you what some of the shots are. Okay, y'all got it? Good. I'll see you at the game. I could say it sounds like you've got about a Vanderbilt football's chance of winning. Every season's tickets for how many years? Huh. But folks, telling is not teaching, and so often we think if we told them they got it and they didn't. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Procedures are the WD-40 of your classroom. Everybody know WD-40? Anything that's stuck, it makes it move smoothly. If you can't get the sticky stuff off or you pull it off the price tag, WD-40, rub it on there, it cleans it up. Procedures are the WD-40 of your classroom. Taking time, the beginning of the year, to plan and teach and have your students practice their procedure makes things run smoothly.